Hello everyone, welcome back to another Coach Kabomi video. Today we're going to be going over the pick'ems for the World 2024 Swiss stage and the Crystal Ball, so the overall arranging of the tournament. We're going to start real quick with the pick'ems, and we're going to try to make this video as quick as possible because we do know people are trying to get their info and get out. So in starting bracket A, we have Mad Lions, PSG, PNG from CB Lone, Vikings from VCS, and then starting bracket B, we have Gigabyte Marines from the VCS, Shogun from PCS, R7 from LLA, and 100 Thieves from the LCS. So right off the bat, I'm going to say 100 Thieves, PSG make it out. A total of 4 teams will be able to make it out of the area. And if we want to go the schedule, it's PSG versus PNG, and then Mad Lions versus Vikings. If we're going under the assumption, based on teams that I think are going to win, PSG and Mad Lions are going to win out in round one, and then in round two, PSG is going to be Mad Lions. Mad Lions going to go to the lower bracket. For starting bracket B, I think 100 Thieves and Gigabyte are going to win, with the 100 Thieves winning out, and then so it's going to be 100 Thieves and PSG winning, and then with the way the bracket's set up going to the lower end, it'll be the losers from bracket A facing the losers bracket B, going at it for the last 2 spots. So that's how it should play out. I actually think it's going to be 100 Thieves, PSG, Gigabyte Marines. And now this is going to be a controversial take, but I do think Mad Lions will get knocked out. For who is going to be up in the air, but I'm not 100% confident in the LEC this year. The Cloud9 may show bias, but I'm keeping up with the LEC this past year and year and a half, and they haven't looked promising to say the least. And those who keep up with LEC know what I'm talking about. So if I had to pick another region, I'd probably say it's going to be Shogun from the PCS. I think the PCS, the PSG Talents, has looked better these last few years than the VCS has, although with the playstyle, VCS definitely has some options for upsets. But again, I don't think Mad Lion's going to make it out here. So going into the Crystal Ball, with the 14-18 changes, I think the game's going to slow down a little bit. I think at least one game is probably going to hit 50 minutes. Whether it's a lower tier team, like a T2 team trying to fight a T1 team, and then, like them getting an early lead, not being able to finish it, or, like a Western team going against an Eastern team with a similar aspect, or 2 Eastern teams just, fighting really hard. Pentakills, there were 3 last year. And they all, I believe, happened in the play-in stage. So I'm going to say 2 are going to happen. I think 2 is a very reasonable number. But I do think both of them will happen in the play-ins. I don't think any are going to happen in the knockouts or the Swiss stage. Drake's, if you look at the stats from last year, Infernal was the most taken, but it was only by a few, so it really can be up to anything. With the meta that's coming in, it's probably going to be Mountain. I think resistances are going to be really big with a lot of the melees coming in. Baron Steals, I believe there was only 3 to 5 last year. But I do believe there's going to be 68. There's been a lot of Baron Steals recently. And whenever you get to high pressure situations of the world, people are always going to look to flail and, misplay some things, not to keep out junglers where they should. So I do think there's probably about 6 to 8. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is quite a bit. Because generally, if a team's contesting Baron, they have full control over the game anyway, and they kind of just need this last little spot to get over the hump to end the game. Reverse sweeps, so there's going to be only 7 total BO5s, meaning they're only counting the reverse sweeps in the knockout stage. There may be a BO5 in the play-ins. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there's not a lot of reverse sweeps. And there hasn't been a lot that's happened inside the world stage. However, I do love an underdog. So we're going to say at least one happen. I mean, it's not at least one, but we're going to say one happens. 3+ is super unrealistic. 2 I could get behind, and 0 is probably the safest answer, but I do believe 1 is going to be is what it does. Champion we played in the most different roles at Worlds. If we look back to Worlds 2023, there is a lot of correct answers in this regard because almost none of them got to 3 roles. They were all up to 2. Um, so it's just a matter of finding a champion that can be played in 2 roles. So right off the bat, we have Akali, we have a Mumu, we have Ashe, we have a lot of champions here. Um, Corki, but that was historically played in mid lane, and it also just got nerfed, so probably not. Ezreal was seen playing the bot lane and the mid lane. Galio is being seen a lot of prio recently in Champions Queue and Solo Queue, mainly in the support role, but it could probably pop up in mid lane at some point. Garen has seen some play, but that was mainly to counter a Nasus, which both these champions have been nerfed. At the very least, I know Nasus nerfed. I'm not 100% sure if Garen got tagged, but we got Gragas, who always sees play in Worlds because he has high playmaking, so he can play top and jungle. Um, we got some jungle jacks players like River at Worlds and a couple from Korea. Jarvan support could always make up a thing again. Jace just got buffed, so we could see him in top and mid. Cassante with top and mid. Karthus bot lane, but no one really does that in pro play. This is always a hard choice. You got Maokai for jungle and support. But yeah, you really got a lot of different options that you can choose, which none of them are realistically like the wrong answer. If Rel was still a jungler, Rel would probably be the best bet. Um, Senna, probably not so much with the changes because people are mainly playing her support like AP, so she's probably going to be relegated to the support role. Um, Tristana usually only ever gets played in the mid lane, not so much in the bot lane. Viego mid had a very high win rate in solo queue, and Viego top lane did, but I'm not sure if that's gonna. It probably won't translate into world stage, to be completely honest. So you also have Yone with Yone mid and Yone top. This is probably gonna be my answer because we do have players like Zeus who loves to play Yone into certain matchups. Um, and then Yone's also currently rising up in priority with mid lane right now, so it's probably my answer. It may change, before playing starts, but I'm pretty confident that's gonna be my answer for top and mid. What champions will be picked most during Worlds? Your safest bets like engage supports, but metas can shift pretty heavily. I actually think it's gonna be Kai'Sa. She hasn't really been touched at all in any of the recent patches, and a lot of the long range poke champions or long range bullies that would fight her in the early game have been nerfed, so she may see a high rise in priority. And if we're also looking to see like AD mids with an AP bot laner or jungler are very prevalent, so having Kai'Sa in your comp allows for a lot of flexibility with the drafting. So I do think Kai'Sa is going to be pretty high priority in this Worlds. Um, I think Syndra is probably going to be one of the most banned. There's been a lot of talks of Syndra basically being perm banned the Champions Queue right now. Um, and there's some players that are known for their control mages and their Syndras that people may not be allowed to play. Basically, any of the Korean mid laners. Quad on FlyQuest was really known for his Syndra back when he was in Korea, and even in the Challengers League in LCS, so he may get some respect bans. Caps, the historic mid laner, is always going to be able to play with the champion. She's a mid lane staple when it comes to Worlds, so keep an eye on that. That's probably my most banned champion. Most deaths, you're probably looking for like an engaged champion, so something like a Jarvan, something like a Vi, or like a Leona. Something that kind of just goes in and doesn't have an escape tool. Um, Looking at supports that are going to be played this world, probably looking at Leona, Rel. Even though they got nerfed, people are very comfortable playing with them, used to playing with them, so you're probably going to see a lot of that going at the start. Um, Leona, however, is very tanky. My bet is probably going to be something more like. Probably like Rel. Rel's going to get played a lot. And then, because generally if champions get played a lot, they're going to have a lot of deaths. So even if you pick a champion, say like a Sivir, who may get played like 7 times and ends up having 35 deaths, even if Rel on average has 2 deaths a game, if she's played 40 games, it's by default going to have, a lot more deaths than Sivir. So you kind of got to mix a pick with high pick rate, and then like also high death rate. So put them two and two together would be good. Um, Now the champion that's gonna have the highest win rate at Worlds. So this can go one of two ways. A champion that hits 5 games played and basically wins every one, kind of like how Yone was last Worlds. Yone was picked 5 times, won 4, lost 1. I do think Yone's gonna have a little bit more higher of a pick rate this time around, but same concept. Um, it's gonna be a situation where like when the champion gets through, it's kind of an auto win. Um, And now, my initial thought is Yone, because a lot of the high mechanical champions like Zeus, not champions, players like Zeus, like to pick Yone into certain matchups, and a lot of times when he does do that, it's also in a game state in which the game is very easy for the Yone to play. Contrary to C9 picking LeBlanc into Maokai, and then LeBlanc having a nearly impossible game to play. With that being said, Aurora is enabled for Worlds, unless things have changed as the time of this recording. I don't think Aurora is going to get it through often, but I do think she's going to get through enough to where when she does, she is probably just going to win the games that she plays. This also could be another situation where Renata gets a lot of playing time. She had like 17 games played, 16 games played last Worlds, but only lost like 3 or 4 of them. And it was a situation where because she had such a high presence, even though she won a good majority of them, her win rate still wasn't high. So it's a really hard balance to have, and you just got to understand to gamble the dice really, because I can pick Aurora and then she can have 4 games played and go 0-4. She can have 5 games played and go 0-5, or she could have 3 games played and goes 3-0, but she wouldn't have hit that 5 game mark. But I think she's going to be one of those champions where not a lot of people have tried to learn her because she's been disabled for so long that only a couple of mid laners and or top laners pick her up and are actually able to do work with her. Only got a couple left. We have players. So this is who will play the most different champions at Worlds. Going back into last Worlds, this was Gumayuchi with, I believe, 13 ADCs played. Now this could be something similar, because ADCs are kind of a fill it in as you go type of role, where you can pick one ADC and they basically do the same thing. In the grand scheme of things, now you have like some pokes, some team fighting, so you need to get the gist, but you also have to pick a player that you think is going to go far in the tournament. So I'm actually probably going to go Guma again this year. I think Guma historically has always played for the team comp and not just played for his priority pick. And I think the team usually plays around Guma pretty well, so I think Guma's going to end up having the most champions played again. Who will get the most kills in a single game at Worlds? Again, this did happen. The winner of this did happen to have it happen in play-in. There was Noah on Fnatic, who had the most kills with like 16 or 17. It was pretty high up there, but it happened in play-ins. And so I believe it's probably going to happen again. Um, and poor Tomo doing our boy dirty with no picture. We need to get Riot on top of this. Get him just a face real quick. But I think Tomo's actually gonna have the highest kills in Worlds with like a really high game against like R7, where he gets like 15 kills on say like Kai'Sa. He is a very good Kai'Sa. Who will have the highest KD at Worlds? Now this one is it could be a gamble of the dice, right? Like you could pick a play-in team that gets knocked out immediately, but say their mid laner was, 1-1 and or like 5-1-4 on the 6 games he played, so he only had success but had a really strong KDA. Something along those lines. And that could work for you, or you could just do, again, a player that you know historically doesn't really die all that often. So last year, this was Guma. Um, Guma historically doesn't really have dumb deaths. In most games, he is very, very smart about his positioning. Um, Looking at like Pays, I think Pays is a fantastic ADC, but I think Pays can be a little bit too aggressive sometimes, which is also a downfall for Guma, where he can be not aggressive enough. Um, this guy's probably gonna have a very low KDA, but it's really trying to find the balance. Looking at the ADCs here, Guma is probably just my initial individual that I'm probably gonna stick with. Um, Going towards any Western team probably is a bad idea because if we think they're going to do poorly against the Eastern teams, they're probably going to have low KDAs, um, and not the best look. So looking at the individuals that I have chosen, I think Light could be another really good one, but I'm probably going to stick with Guma, who will get the most first bloods. This will generally be a jungler, um, and I'm probably going to say River. He's playing in play-ins, so if he gets like 5 games in play-ins and he gets all 5 first bloods and then happens to get a knockout and get like 1 or 2. I believe the person who got first last Worlds had 6 first bloods, so and River's super active early game, so I wouldn't be surprised if River got it. Um, and then this one, I'm actually gonna say I think Shogun's gonna get it. I think Shogun's gonna have a really weird pop-off game in play-ins because again the pentakills all happened in play-ins last year. So it was just a couple of ADCs that were known in the region, but not necessarily known internationally if you don't keep up with some of the minor regions. I think Shogun's gonna have a pop-off game, get a pentakill against like PNG, and then call it a day and get out of Worlds. Now, last one teams. We're gonna try to get this in 20 minutes. Which team from a region with 2 seeds or less will advance through furthest through Worlds? I think PSG is probably going to go farthest. They are by far the best minor region team out of the 6. So PSG is easily your safest bet. If you're a gambling man, you're probably going to go something like Gigabyte Esports or like R7 maybe. Which team will win the shortest game at Worlds? This one's an easy one. Now, I may seem like a T1 fanboy with double Gumas and the which team will win the shortest game. However, T1 had the fastest game last Worlds against C9. They also had a 16-minute game against 17-minute game against FlyQuest, and we have the historic 15-minute game against Mad Lions. They're just very, very efficient at ending games when people don't want to play them anymore. So I think T1 will end up having one of the shortest ones again. Which team will have the most Baron Seals? We're probably looking at a team that's going to be behind in most cases. So most Eastern teams are probably not going to be your best bet. I think it's probably going to be FlyQuest. I think Inspired's generally pretty good about smite fights. So if FlyQuest can look to get him into situations to contest, I think he has potential to get a couple. And you only really need like 2 to secure first place with this. So save this question for last. Which team will play the most different champions at Worlds? So this one last year, I believe, was Weibo Gaming with the Shy and crew, and they ended up going to finals. Again, so with these picks, you want to pick something that you believe is going to have enough variance where they're not going to play the same, 5 champions like TL did all of summer in the LCS. But you also want to give them enough variance to where they can make it far. Um, and looking at these champions, Alright, slight technical error. My headset turned off. Looking at these, I think Billy Gaming and LPL team's probably going to get first. We also have Hanwha. Actually, no, I'm going to say Hanwha and I'm going to say Zeka. I think Zeka's going to pull out some really weird picks later on, and I feel like they're going to do it. Now, the team to win Worlds. I don't think it's going to be either the first seed in LPL or LCK, because generally they don't win. If we're looking at second seed, because Gen.G got second seed, it could be their year. However, Chovy has to prove to me that he can win at Worlds before I try to go into the Church of Chovy. He's burned too many bridges in that regard. Realistically, it's not going to be any of the Western teams. C9's not here, so my C9 bias is not in the window here. If we're looking at LCK, likely candidates I think are going to be Gen.G or T1. I don't think Domino's going to get it. If we're looking at LPL, likely candidates are probably going to be, I would say LNG, but with their issue with scouts and them inheriting Yagao, I don't think they'll be in there. Probably Weibo or Bilibili is probably my proponent for the LPL. But I think what's going to happen, because we all know Worlds is scripted, entertainment is scripted. TL is going to win. They're back to back. They're going to go to 3 straight Worlds finals, winning 2 of them with the same group of people, and then Faker will officially retire. I think that's what's going to happen. Those are my crystal ball predictions. And I'll slowly go through these real quick in case anyone wants to go through. Go to picks, and then we'll be doing another video for Swiss stage, quarters, semis, and then finals. I forgot to lock this in. We said PSG, 100 Thieves, Gateway Marines, and Shogun. We're going to submit. These are my picks. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will be posting the updates on here as Worlds goes by. You guys have a great night, or a great day, depending on where you are.